Boolean algebra can get a little bit complicated, especially when you have a truth table, you're extracting all the highs, and then you need to remember all the rules of Boolean algebra, and it can get a bit overwhelming. So something that we do to make our life a little bit easier is Karnaugh mapping. I will say Karnaugh mistakenly, it's Karnaugh, but because I also lecture in thermodynamics, I keep thinking about the Karnaugh engine. So bear with me, that's what I usually mean. The idea behind it is we map a truth table on a Karnaugh map and we can extract a Boolean expression to build a very simple logic gate out of it. A bunny just ran in, so that's what I was looking at. However, to use the Karnaugh map effectively, we do need to learn the rules of the game. So that's the purpose of this video. I'm going to teach you the rules. To the whiteboard. So this would be a 16-line truth table, and we've expressed all the highs in the table. We can add in the zeros if we want, but we can ignore them. It's just a lot easier. You know you're not allowed under the PC, where all the spicy wires are. The first rule of Karnaugh mapping is that we don't talk about Karnaugh mapping. But the real rule is that when we draw our grid, we don't draw it in the order of the truth table. We write it in the order of 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 1, 0. That's because each neighboring cell, i.e. the cell on the right, the left, up or down, can only differ by 1 bit. So this guy is 0, 0, 0, 0, but this guy is 0, 1, 0, 0. Only 1 bit changed. And another important thing is that from right to left, everything continues. And what's important is the bit on the most right-hand side continues and changes only by 1 bit on the left-hand side. And the bit on the most top-hand side connects to the most on the bottom, i.e. this cell is 0010 and this cell is 1010. Only 1 digit changed. So they are neighboring cells. It's almost like it works in 2 dimensions. You can bend the paper like drawn on this map. We can bend it over and the 2 cells are attached on either side, or from right to left. Rule number 2 is that you have to group all of these ones, and the rule is you can group them to anything to the power of 2. 2 to the power of 0, 2 to the power of 1, 2 to the power of 2. Can you stop causing chaos? Buddy wants a lot of attention right now. So we can group cells as 1, 2, 4, 8, and so on. Rule number 3, overlap is allowed. As you can see here, every one needs to be grouped. No ones get left behind. But what's important when you're grouping them is that you don't group them on the diagonal. You can only group up, down, left, and right. But you couldn't group these 2 guys, for example, on the diagonal. That's not allowed. Rule number 4 is we ignore the zeros. You don't even have to draw them. In some truth tables and Karnaugh maps, we can use something called don't care statements, where we put an X. You don't have to group the X's, but you can utilize them to get the maximum groupings. Which brings us to rule number 5, always aim to have the largest grouping. The bigger the grouping, the better. And the reason why it's better is because the more ones we cluster together, the less of a Boolean term there will be. So for example, a group of 4 will give us a 2-term Boolean expression. A group of 2 will give us a grouping of 3 Boolean expressions. I'll show you that in a second. So these are all the rules of Karnaugh mapping. Let's actually apply everything that I just taught you. So let's look at this problem that I've expressed on a Karnaugh map. I've grouped every single one and I've grouped them to the maximum groups that I could, i.e. there's 4 cells here, 4 cells here, and 2 cells there. I did overlap to get the maximum amount of grouping as possible. In this first red group, the cells exist as AB in 1, 1, and then as 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 1, 0. And the rules for grabbing a Boolean expression out of this is that we need to identify where they are high or where they're low, i.e. complements or non-complements. And we do that by process of elimination, by getting rid of anything that has a complement. So first of all, in this whole group, AB is the only parameter there. There are no complements. It's just 1, 1. So the term we have left with is AB. Let's look at CD. C exists as 0, and as 1 and 1. Both 0 and 1 exist. They are complements, so there is no C term. Let's look at D. It exists as 0, 1, 1, 0. It also exists as a complement. We cannot use this. So we cannot use C or D as part of the Boolean expression. We are simply left with A and B. No bar on them because they're both high, high. A and B. That's the first group. Let's find our next AND group. Let's look at this pink expression. As AB, it exists as 0, 1, and 1, 1. As CD, it exists as 0, 1, and 1, 1. Let's look carefully here. A is 0 and 1 in this group, so it has a complement A's gone. B exists as 1 and 1, which means there isn't a complement there, and we have a B term left. Because it's a high, because it's a 1, it's not a B bar, it's just B on its own. Let's look at the groupings up here. We have 0, 1, and 1, 1. C exists as 0 and 1, which means it has a complement. It annihilates that C parameter. It's not part of the Boolean expression. D exists as 1 and 1. There is no complement, so we do have a D Boolean expression. And it's not a D bar, it's a D on its own because they're both highs. The pink grouping is extracted as BD. Clearly, Bunzo finds Boolean algebra very entertaining. She's decided to listen with us for the remainder of this lecture. The last group is a 2-cell group, the orange one. And remember that we can bend the Karnaugh map. So the guy on top and the guy on the bottom are connected. And even though the rule says to make it the biggest grouping possible, and you might say, well, why didn't you circle that? Remember, everything has to be 2 to the power of something. So 2 to the power of 1 is 2. A 3-cell grouping cannot exist. So let's look at all the parameters. AB exists as 0, 0, and 1, 0. A is complemented, so the A term is gone. But B remains, specifically 0, 0, which means we have a Boolean expression left over of B bar. In this one, we only have CD expressed as 1 and 0. There are no complements, so we have to take into consideration both C and D, part of the Boolean expression. C is a high, so we just leave C on its own. D is a low, so it's a D bar. And there we have it, B bar, C, D bar. The next step is that we OR all of these groupings, and that is our final Boolean expression. You could draw a logic circuit out of that if you wish, but a little bit of Boolean algebra. B isn't common in that part. We can take it out, or A and D, and then AND the outcome with B. And this is what the logic gate would look like. You have all your A's, B's, C's, and D's. Extract an inverter where you need to. So in our case, B bar and D bar exist. And let's do everything in brackets first. A or D. There we go. We have D and A. Then we AND that outcome with B. There's B. And we AND that outcome. Let's do B bar, C, D bar. There's B bar, C, and D bar. And we AND all of these 3. And yes, you can have 3 inputs. And the outcome of that OR in there, is ORed with the outcome of here, this guy that we did earlier, and we have our final outcome. This logic gate makes this Karnaugh map work. I hope you found that educational and useful. I'm sure Bambi will use Boolean algebra to solve the most optimum path to her carrots. Thank you so much for supporting this channel. Happy circuiting!